Located 13 miles from the Oregon-California border, lies one of the most prolific and notorious prisons in the state of California. Pelican Bay State Prison was activated in 1989 and today houses approximately 2,045 minimum, medium, high, and maximum security inmates. On January 30th, 2025, at approximately 7:15 a.m., incarcerated persons Jose Gonzalez, Richard Wilson, and Luis Torres would attack a supervising correctional officer with an inmate manufactured weapon in a dining hall. The officer would sustain a laceration and multiple puncture wounds, and staff had to use OC pepper spray to quell the attack. An inmate manufactured weapon would also be found at the scene and processed in the evidence. The officer would be transported to an outside medical facility, and thankfully his life was saved.
Now, 3 inmates are being investigated after suspected attempted homicide took place at Pelican Bay State Prison, where one officer suffered stab wounds. Leaders at the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation say at about 7:15 Thursday morning, 3 inmates, Jose Gonzalez, Richard Wilson, plus Luis Torres, attacked a supervising officer in the dining hall using a weapon created by an inmate. Staff reportedly used pepper spray to end the attack. The officer was then taken to a medical facility outside of the prison. As far as criminal history, starting with Gonzalez, according to CDCR, the 38-year-old was received from LA County back in 2008 after being sentenced for life for first-degree murder, evading an officer while driving recklessly, intentionally firing off a firearm, then causing great bodily injury. The other inmate, 32-year-old Richard Wilson, was taken in from Sacramento back in 2015, where he was sentenced to 14 years for DUI, causing bodily injury, with 1 prior felony conviction enhancing the sentence. In 2018, he was sentenced in San Luis Obispo for 3 years for battery on a non-prisoner while in prison, according to his criminal record. Then in 2021, he was sentenced again in Del Norte for possession of manufacturing a weapon, this while in prison. Finally, 34-year-old Luis Torres was taken in from LA back in 2014, sentenced to life for first-degree murder with a second strike. An additional 4 years was added to his sentence after assaulting a prisoner while in prison. According to the GoFundMe page, Correctional Officer Anthony Rivera is still in the ICU. All funds raised will go directly to Officer Rivera's family to help ease the burden. The goal was at least $9,000. It is currently past this amount as it continues.
14, you're starting out kind of young, aren't you? Huh?
I guess so. Yes.
What do you mean you guess so? Yes or no?
Yes. I ain't no gang ringer though.
What is this?
Huh? No, they just, some of the 60s want me to dress like this.
Why?
They want me to be a gang member.
They want you to be a gang member, so they tell you to dress like this?
The low-slung baggy pants is typical gang fashion.
Are you going to attend his funeral? Huh? You are? You think it's necessary, you know, that he has a young funeral, huh? What school do you go to?
Not far away the next night, a drive-by shooting. 3 injured in the latest violent game of tit for tat.
We got a graze to the head on this guy and a leg wound.
This guy's got a shot to the right temple area. Looks like
They say anything?
No.
Come on, straight out. You know what's up.
They didn't claim no set.
Did this car drive by earlier?
Nope.
Anybody throwing any signs?
Nope, I ain't never seen it.
The final toll for our 48 hours will be 196 arrested.
Yeah, we're going to get tough. We're going to get tougher.
4 dead.
And if it takes fear, if they fear us, fine. And that's let them fear us.
Really, I joined the game because it seemed that was the main thing going on. It's like a style among our own.
On the street, they call him Sad. The day we caught up with him, he was visiting some old friends at the cemetery.
But you know what? How many people in this cemetery?
I got at least 5 people buried here. At least 5 at the most.
At least five of your friends?
Yes, sir. At least 5.
Kids?
You know, they was young. They died pretty young.
What are we talking
early
about?
20s, maybe 19, early 20s.
Gangs? All of them?
Yeah, all of them.
And how'd it happen? Would they get shot?
Shot and killed.
What is that? You got a tombstone there on your arm?
Yes, sir. That's like a memorial to my homeboys that all had died, you know. So I feel, you know.
So these are.
They all deceased from gang activity. I always think of it.
Really?
I always think of dying. I get up every day thinking like that. For the simple fact, if you don't, that's when you seem to lose your life, when you ease up on the fact that you know, that you can't die not so early, you understand me? Mm-hmm. When you ease up on, that's when the most of the time it seems like you go. That's what we call, that's the term we use, is slipping, you know what I mean?
Slipping.
Slipping mean ain't being aware of what could possibly take place on any given day.
So when you say, when you wake up, you think about dying, you really mean it that way?
I really mean it. That's the only way I feel I can live as long as I can. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a neighborhood of tenements and back alleys and tipped-over garbage cans. It's a community of private houses and nice lawns. Not the place you imagine when you imagine a war zone. But this is home turf for some of the Crips and the Bloods, two of LA County's most vicious gangs.
LA police are getting their orders as they prepare for another assault on street gangs.
Beach Avenue, but that was before the Los Angeles Police Department declared war on street gangs in the city, and before a shooting Wednesday night that left 2 people wounded.
All right, hold on. Let me just ask you a question. Why are you guys Bloods? Why are you in the gangs?
Why is we in the gang? I guess because the area we grew up in, man. Everybody go in that area, man.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel today. Welcome back. Really quick, before we jump into it, let's do the intros. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I really appreciate it. If you do like it, go back. Check out some of the content. Check out some of the videos. And let me know what you guys think. If you're a returning viewer, thank you. You guys already know how much you guys mean to me. We are so close to 20,000 subscribers. I can really almost start to taste it. Again, that is all because of you guys. Lastly, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, hit the like button, hit the comment button, engage into conversation, and hit the subscribe button because, again, it means a lot. We are trying to get these numbers up. Once we hit 20K, the next goal is going to be what? 50K, and we're going to get there. That's all because of you guys again, so thank you so much. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, today's story takes place in Pelican Bay at the end of January this year, January 30th, 2025, to be exact. Pelican Bay is just kind of one of those infamous, notorious prisons. You say Pelican Bay, it's synonymous with California. It's synonymous with the United States prison system. It's famous. When I hear Pelican Bay, I think of Training Day. Once again, I've referred to Training Day a couple times throughout the videos that I've posted up here. Towards the end of the movie, Denzel Washington's yelling at basically the guys in the hood, the guys he's been living around that he's controlled and had his thumb on for years. And he's losing that power. He's losing that grip. And he's kind of losing control. And he's yelling at him, basically saying, you don't back me up. You don't take out this white boy, Ethan Hawke, the cop. I'm going to put cases on all of you. And you're all going to be playing basketball in Pelican Bay. Something like that. If I got it wrong, please correct me down below in the comments. But I don't think I did get it wrong. So this case is about a correctional officer who almost lost their lives. They damn near took his head off. He was attacked by 3 individuals. We're going to be reading from the CDCR's website, and then we're going to be reading some good background information I got on 2 of the perpetrators, and we'll go from there. So, California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation officials are investigating the alleged attempted homicide of a peace officer at Pelican Bay State Prison. Peace officer just means corrections officer. On January 30th, 2025, at approximately 7:15 a.m., incarcerated persons Jose Gonzalez, Richard Wilson, and Luis Torres attacked a supervising CO with an inmate-manufactured weapon in a dining hall. The officer sustained a laceration and puncture wounds. Staff used OC pepper spray to quell the attack. An inmate-manufactured weapon was found at the scene and processed into evidence. The officer was transported to an outside medical facility for treatment of his injuries and has been admitted for observation. Gonzalez, Wilson, and Torres were transferred to another institution for placement in restricted housing. Prison officials are currently investigating the incident. The case will be referred to the Del Norte District Attorney's Office for possible felony prosecution. Peer support and EAP services are being offered to employees. The only thing that stuck out of that was possible felony prosecution. I don't get it. If I was an officer in that case, I would say, what the hell does that mean, possible? It's insane. Gonzalez, this is Jose Gonzalez, 38, was received from Los Angeles County on June 25th, 2008. He was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for first-degree murder, attempting to evade a peace officer while driving recklessly in intentional discharge of a firearm, causing great bodily injury or death. Richard Wilson, 32, was received from Sacramento County on January 17th, 2015. He got 14 years for DUI, bodily injury, one prior with enhancements for a prior felony conviction of a serious offense and inflicting great bodily injury. He was sentenced by San Luis Obispo County on February 16th, 2018 to 3 years for battery on a non-prisoner and in-prison offense. On February 25th, 2021, also sentenced in Del Norte County to 1 year for possession and manufacture of a deadly weapon by an incarcerated person, also an in-prison offense. And last but not least, Luis Torres, 34 years old, was received from Los Angeles County on February 7th, 2014, sentenced to life with the possibility of parole for first-degree murder with second strike intentional discharge of a firearm causing great bodily injury or death while incarcerated. He was also sentenced to an additional 4 years for assault by prisoner with any means of force likely to cause great bodily injury, also an in-prison offense. Now, digging through these guys, backgrounds a little bit. Gonzalez, Jose, and his middle name, Mario Gonzalez, was a East Side Mob Piru, a gang member. Luis Torres was a Carver City Crip out of Compton. Okay, first guy we're going to be talking about, Jose Mario Gonzalez. This is a background on him on an appeal decision on his behalf from January 28th, 2010. And I love the appeals because they get right into the statement of facts, and you just read right from it. And this is from a July 2006 incident. On July 7th, 2006, Tonic P. So a lot of times in these appeals, they're going to use just like abbreviations, initials, or like last name, but no first name, just so you know. Tonic P was sitting in front of a friend's house with her friend's brother. The initials on this were LC. A black SUV truck pulled up in front of the house. Appellant got out of the passenger side. When it says appellant, that's Jose Mario Gonzalez. All right, so I'm going to try not to say appellant. I'm just going to try to say Jose Gonzalez, but pops up a lot here. Jose Mario Gonzalez got out of the passenger side of the car and asked, quote, "Hey, homie, where are you from?" LC replied, "We don't gangbang." Gonzalez would state, quote, "Well, this is East Side Mob," pulled out a gun and began shooting. A bullet passed 3 to 4 inches away from Tonic's head. Tonic ran behind the building. She heard footsteps approaching her. Then she heard Jose Mario Gonzalez return to the truck and shut the door. Lonnie J., Tonic's brother, was inside a house across the street. Through a screen door, he saw a dark truck pull up across the street. He turned away from the door, then heard shots a few moments later. Lonnie ran back to the door and saw Jose Gonzalez getting into the truck. Gonzalez was holding a metal object that looked like a gun. Tonic called 911 after the shooting, but deputy sheriff did not arrive until the next day. That's crazy. You call 911, there's a shooting. The sheriffs don't show up until the next day. In September of 2006, Tonic identified Jose Mario Gonzalez as the shooter from a collection of 30 to 45 photographs. Gonzalez's family used to live across the street from Tonic, and Gonzalez was friends with Tonic's cousins. Tonic had seen Gonzalez before at her family's barbecues. On cross-examination, Tonic and Lonnie denied any knowledge that Jose Mario Gonzalez or one of his friends dated their sister. At trial, Gonzalez offered the testimony of Laura J., the grandmother of Gonzalez's girlfriend. In the summer of 2006, Gonzalez flew to Phoenix, Arizona, where Laura lived at the time, to help drive a 2-car caravan back to L.A. Laura recalled seeing Jose Gonzalez in Arizona in late July or early August 2006. So basically he's saying there's no way I could have done it because, look, I'm down here with my girl, helping her and her grandma out. September 2006, though, was another incident. The first one's July of 2006. Next one, September of 2006. On the morning of September 29th, 2006, Rodney Beverly was at a liquor store in Linwood. He heard gunfire while at the purchase counter. Another man who had just walked into the store dropped to the floor. He looked up and told Beverly, quote, "You got hit." A bullet or bullet fragment hit Beverly in the throat near his Adam's apple. A bullet fragment was later removed from Beverly's neck. Police officer Marlon Williams was parked close to the liquor store when he heard 4 or 5 gunshots nearby. He drove in the direction of the shots and saw Gonzalez and co-defendant Jeanne Lawler sitting in a car in front of the store. The 2 men were looking at the store. When they turned away, the driver, Gonzalez, saw Officer Williams and looked surprised. Jose Mario Gonzalez drove away from the liquor store. Officer Williams followed. Officer Williams then turned on his patrol car's forward red lights to attempt a traffic stop, so you can see how he picked up this charge. Officer Williams followed. He attempts a traffic stop. Jose Maria Gonzalez drove across the double yellow line southbound and northbound traffic, then turned and drove eastbound against westbound traffic. Officer Williams initiated a pursuit. Gonzalez did not stop at stop signs or traffic signals and drove close to 50 miles per hour in a residential neighborhood with a 25 miles per hour speed limit. The car pulled up to a large apartment complex and Lawler got out. He was wearing blue shorts. Officer Williams put out a description of Lawler on his radio and continued to follow Gonzalez in the car. Eventually, Gonzalez turned back into the apartment complex and jumped out of the car. Gonzalez would run through the apartment complex with Officer Williams in pursuit, then gave up when his path was blocked by another officer. Meanwhile, officers would search Lawler, a resident in the apartment complex, told Deputy Sheriff she saw a man in blue shorts digging in the ground and burying something. That's probably the gun. She showed the deputy where the spot and the item was, or where the item was buried in the yard. The deputy kicked away dirt and discovered a gun in a sock. Deputy Sheriff's searching area found Lawler. He was still wearing blue shorts and had streaks of mud or dirt on his arms and his hands. Although Lawler was walking, he was out of breath and sweating. A criminalist examined the bullet fragment removed from Beverly's neck and the gun that was buried at the apartment complex. At trial, his opinion was that the bullet fragment came from the gun that had been buried. Detective Gina Cabrera was testified as a gang expert at trial based on police reports written by other officers, as well as Gonzalez and Lawler's tattoos. Detective Cabrera, her opinion was that Gonzalez was a member of the East Side mob Piru and Lawler a member of the Looters Park Piru gang. Gonzalez used the moniker Ghetto Boy and Lawler used the moniker Rambo. And he's ended up being found guilty of this. Yeah, pretty crazy. So you see how that relates to his charges, because when you read, that's why I love doing these backgrounds for you guys, because it gives you an idea of why he picked up these charges, right? Received from LA on 08, he was sentenced to life with possibility of first-degree murder, and then it's the evade or attempting to evade a peace officer while driving recklessly. That's why I like giving background and giving some insight to this. Well, how was he driving recklessly? What did he do? It's like, it just kind of puts it all together. What's interesting, though, is how he picks up, it's just crazy how they stack up the charges, man. So you can see in these appeals, what they're trying to say is, well, this doesn't take into consideration, the gang evidence shouldn't have been used, but at the end of the day, man, if you're a documented gang member, if you're already out there committing felonies, racking up charges, they're going to get you. Okay, last but not least, Luis Torres. He's the Carver City Crip. This is an article from January 17th, 2014. Now, his murder case was pretty high profile. I put a picture up of him when he was on the most wanted list. Pretty brutal, man, pretty sad. We're going to read from this. January 17th, 2014, 2 gang members were sentenced Friday in the 2009 murder case of a Carson teenager who was shot several times in the back as he walked home from school. Luis Torres, who was 23 at the time, was sentenced to 75 to life, the maximum sentence for his role in the crime. Darnell Jones, who was 22 years old, received 50 to life in prison, according to the LA County District Attorney's Office. Compton Superior Court Judge Eleanor J. Hunter also denied a motion for a new trial. According to the LA County Sheriff's Department, which investigated the murder, Torres and Jones were members of the Carver City Crips street gang. On the afternoon of January 26, 2009, 19-year-old Michael Owens, who prosecutors said was not a gang member, was walking home from school on 132nd Street in Compton when he was shot multiple times in the back. Time of the shooting was around 2:15 p.m. Owens was shot with a .22 caliber with a total of 7 cartridges recovered at the scene. We believe that the shooting was gang-motivated in retaliation for a shooting of 2 black males 2 days earlier, said Sheriff Lee Baca, who appeared with Owens' family members to seek the public's help in cracking the case. Sheriff Lieutenant Don Slauson said Owens was not a gang member, but may have been mistaken for one. He was listening to music on a headphone and apparently did not hear a car pull up near him, occupied by 2 men and driven by a woman. Numerous witnesses saw the crime occur and mostly agreed that 2 cars on the scene, a Buick that was owned by Luis Torres, was the car that the shooters used, and also a Monte Carlo that Darnell Jones used. It's not looking good. Quote, he didn't hear or see them get out of the car or draw a handgun, Slauson said. They shot him numerous times in the back. The men fled in a dark green car, possibly a Buick Regal. Another car was behind that one and may have been connected with the crime. It was described as a gray or silver Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Owen's father, Anthony, and this is sad, who was a member of the Army National Guard at the time of his son's slaying, served 4 tours of duty in Iraq. He is now a reserve member of the U.S. Marines, said Steve Whitmore of the Sheriff's Department. The victim, quote, wanted to follow in his father's footsteps and join the Marines, quote, and he wanted to join the Sheriff's Department. pretty sad if you don't like cops, if you don't like all that stuff. That's a young kid, man, leaving school with dreams. And, just going home, growing up in a bad neighborhood with his headphones in, listening to music. Can you think of how many times you yourself did that? If you got kids that do that every single day. It's just, it's brutal. Arrests were not made in the case until 2 years later. Torres and Jones were convicted on June 11th, 2023 of first-degree murder with gun and gang allegations. A third defendant, Ronald Armstrong, 25, pled guilty in 2012 to manslaughter and assault with a deadly weapon. He was scheduled to be sentenced the following month, or the following January 23rd. A call to Torres' attorney was not returned, and basically they all declined comment. Really sad. Pretty crazy. And then, both these guys end up some years later. Here we are, beginning of 2025. They've been locked down for, they've both been locked up for a long time. They tried to kill this corrections officer. This was one of the ones that happened beginning of the year. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, you already know what it is. Peace.